Hello everyone and welcome to another video. This video is quite special. Today we are going to build a whole React application from scratch. This video is for anyone wanting to learn and advance in React by creating a real project from scratch. Building this project will solidify your knowledge of all the main concepts of React. This project will include working with components, project structure, lifecycle methods, state management, passing props from parent to child components, API requests, and much more. This video is suitable for everyone who is just starting with React and for those that already know quite a bit but want to improve their knowledge. So, as you can see right here, we are going to build a YouTube clone application. All of the data will be live fetched from real YouTube API. So these are real videos and you can play them right here. Let's take a look at the finished product. We are going to build a YouTube clone application that is going to fetch real data from YouTube API. So as you can see right here, we have one big video and we have 5 videos on the side. You can play this video in iframe right here, and then you can choose from any of the other videos right here by clicking on it. It will display right here and then you can play it. Above is the search bar, so you can search for any term you want. Llamas are cool, so let's check for llamas. And as you can see right here, we got here just the videos. You can open it right here and then you can play it. Or you can just open it in YouTube by clicking right here. So simple as that. You can search for terms, you can display them right here. Here we have 5 little cards, and when you click on them, you get the video. So that's it. This video is special because in this little project, you can learn quite a lot of important concepts in React. As I mentioned, we'll be working with project structure, also passing props from child components or parent components to child. So as you can see here, we are passing all the data from this little item right here to the main iframe right here. We are also going to learn about methods. So right here we have one handle change method, and we need to put all of this info in the state and later send it somewhere on the API to catch all the data from these videos. So as I said, quite a lot of important concepts. Let's not stall anymore and let's get straight to the coding. We are going to start with a clean directory right here, so we can start from the bare beginning. Visual Studio Code has built-in terminal right here. You can visit it by going View and then Terminal right here. But you can also use any other terminal like Command Prompt on Windows and Terminal on Mac. So let's first create React app. So we are going to use a boilerplate React application. You need to have create React app. So create React app installed globally on your device, so you can use it as a method. You need to have create React app installed globally on your device. So let's do npm I and then -g for global and create React app. This will install create React app globally on your device, so then you can call it and create as many React projects as you want. To use create React app, if you don't already have it, you need to install it globally on your device. So you can run npm I -g for global, create React app. This will install create React app globally on your device, so you can create as many React projects as you'd like. Important thing that if you're on a Mac, you'll need to add sudo on beginning and then you'll need to type your password. I am not going to do that since I already have it installed. You can do that, and then we can start by typing create React app and then just / since we are already in the directory we want our project to be. If you are not in the directory, you can do it like this. So YouTube API. This will create a new directory for you. But we are already on the YouTube API directory, so we are not going to do that. Now, as you can see right here, create React app is going to start creating our initial boilerplate project structure right here for us. We are going to wait for that and then we'll be right here. Okay, now that everything is successfully set up, we need to install our necessary dependencies. And the dependencies we are going to use for this video are Axios. So we are going to run npm I --save Axios. And we are also going to use material UI. So we can type material -UI and /core. And while that installs, we can head on to the browser and check what Material UI has to offer. So Material UI Getting Started Guide, let's see. So what is Material UI? React components for faster and easier web development. Build your own design system or start with Material Design. Basically, Material UI has pre-built, pre-styled components that you can use. So we don't have to spend a lot of time thinking about designing things. We can just code them, and we can use predefined Material UI components such as button, for example, or navbar or something like that. So we immediately get good looking code. Everything is styled with Material Design in mind. So it follows the patterns of Material Design. We can check some of the components right here. So we can go under components. It has a container system, so everything can be nice and contained. Also a grid system. So when we have those cards, we can use the grid system. And it also has some things like buttons. As you can see here, no need to style them. We can just call this button right here that we are going to import from Material UI. There are no prerequisites to this. I'm going to show you how to do everything, how to import it, how to use it, and you're going to get to know Material UI better so you can use it in your own applications. So let's get back to our code, and this has installed correctly. We can now run npm start to see if our project will run correctly in the browser. While that loads, we can just clean this project structure. So we are going to remove src directory fully, and we are going to create a new one. There is no need for all that boilerplate code right here. Inside of here, we can also remove our favicon and our manifest, since we are not going to need it. Inside of our src directory, we can simply create an index.js. And inside of that index.js, we are going to have import react from react. Also, we are going to have import react DOM from react DOM. This is just one file that basically sets up your application. So it renders that application in a certain root of your HTML document. So we are going to import app, which doesn't exist yet. From that /app, we are going to place it right there. And then with this command, react DOM that render, we are going to use this app right here. And the second property to our render function is document that query selector, and we are going to target our root right here. So let's explain what that means. But first, let's just create our app component, so app.js, so we don't get an error here. In here, we are just going to create a simple React application. So we are going to do the same thing once again by typing import react from react. And just below, we are going to type class app extends react that component. And we need to have a render function. And then we need to have a return statement inside of it, just like this. In here, we can return our code. So for now, we are just going to return one simple heading, which will say YouTube clone app. And now we need to export it by typing export default app. Okay, so let's review what we just did right here. In here, we created a class of app. And this app has render and return function, as all React classes have. Components in React can be defined in two different ways. One is class-based component, and the other one is functional component. This component has access to the state, and most of the smart so-called components need to be class-based. So they have return statement, and they also have lifecycle methods, and they manage the state. But in React, we also have so-called dummy components, and these are basically function-based components. So we can create this app. We're just going to comment it right here, just like this. Const app is equal to an arrow function, and then it returns something like h1. YouTube clone app. Just like this, we need to have a return statement, and this will basically output the same code. This is okay for now, but when we add additional logic, this will not be enough. So sometimes we need to translate this function-based components to class-based ones. So let's remove this for now and uncomment this. And now this component is being imported into our index.js. We are getting it right here. And React DOM is going to render our app component inside of our root. Root is basically a div with an ID. We can check it right here. So if we go into index.html, we can see that we have in the body just one single div with ID root. So it's completely empty. All of our application is going to be inside of this just because we imported our app.js right here. Now we can get back to our browser and see how it looks. We refresh and we get YouTube clone app. So we do not ever need to change this index.html in React. We will just forget it, close this public folder, and that's it. We're just going to use this src. Every other component that we create is going to be inside components folder. And we're just going to import it into the app, and app is simply going to display it to the index, and we are going to get it right away. So now we got this basic project structure done, and let's move to creating real components that are actually going to do something. And just under the src folder, we are going to create a new folder that will be called API. Inside of here, we will have only one file called youtube.js. And inside of here, we will be using Axios. So we need to import Axios from Axios. We previously installed it, and we can check whether it is installed by going to package.json and seeing it under the dependencies right here. Now we can use this Axios to make a request to the YouTube API, but we are not going to make a request here. We're just going to export our function that is going to make a request. So export default axios.create. And you may never seen this. We are not actually using axios.get, but we're just using axios.create. That is going to help us make easier get requests later. We use that because in here we can specify the base URL, and we can also specify our params. So params are something that you have after the base URL. But let's check the YouTube API in the Chrome browser. So inside of here, it is YouTube v3 / getting started. I will leave the link in the description. And in here, you have the overview for the API. So before you start, you need a Google account to access your API console, and you need an API key. You need to create a project in Google Developers Console and obtain credentials. And then after you create the project, you need to go to API console and enable this API. That's basically it. So create Google account, create project, console.developers.google.com. And inside of here, this is your YouTube app dashboard. So inside of here, you're going to do enable APIs and services, and you're going to choose YouTube and YouTube Data API version 3. Inside of here, you need to enable it and get the API key for this specific API. You can do that by going into credentials right here. Afterwards, you're going to go back to your application, and we're just going to use this basic URL. The base URL is https and then www.googleapis.com, YouTube, and then v3. This is the base URL. After the base URL, you usually have parameters, so it looks something like this. For example, we need AP key, so it would be AP key equal to some numbers. And then you also have, for example, a search query equal to, I don't know, llamas, as we saw before, and stuff like that. But this makes our URL unreadable, and Axios provides us with a way to do it right here. So if we type part snippet right here, it is the same as typing right here part equals snippet. So just basically a cleaner syntax. This part snippet, you can find it in the API documentation. Basically it means that it is going to return our videos. And also we can specify another parameter, which will be max results, and that will specify to 5. So we don't fetch 100 videos, we're just going to fetch 5. And inside of here, you need to paste your API key. So for now, I'm not going to paste it. You can just paste it here. I'm going to do that later when I close this file, so we are not going to use it anymore. But basically that is it for this file. Inside of here, when you paste your key, that is going to be it. Your Axios request is created and you can successfully call it to get 5 videos for your search. That's it. So right now I'm going to paste my key inside of here and I'll see you in the next file. Now we can create the basics of our application inside of our app.js. So everything that we write will be inside of here. And then all the specific components we will write inside of here. So let's do it. First, let's import all the components that we are going to use from Material UI core. So import and then curly braces, grid from, and then add Material UI and then / core. That's it. The grid is the only component that we are going to use in this component. Now, inside of here, we also can import our YouTube. So import YouTube from, and then /API/YouTube. Now we have a reference to our Axios instance we can call later. Notice that here we have curly braces and here we don't. That simply means that this is not a default export and that this one is. So inside of API, we set it export default. That means that there is simply one export and it is that YouTube. This Material UI core has a lot of stuff, so we need to specify exactly what we want to fetch, and in this case we are fetching grid. So now let's create our initial structure of our app.js. Inside of here we are going to have a grid, and that grid is going to be a type of container. So we are going to type container and we are going to add spacing of 16. Now, first thing I'd like to mention is that you do not need to know everything about Material UI. So if we go back and we go into our Material UI and we check for components and we check for grid. Inside of here, you can see all the stuff that I'm going to type, but there are no need to go into that. If you're not interested in learning Material UI right now, you can just copy what I type, and that is simply and purely for the styling. But if you want to learn Material UI, which is really cool way to display data in a nice way in React, I can create a whole separate video on Material UI. So if you're interested, just let me know. Another thing I'd like to mention is that in this video we will do styling with inline CSS. Now this isn't usually a good practice because when you have a lot of styling, it really makes your files unreadable, and it is a better way to do them directly in separate CSS files. But for this video, since we have little to no styling, just a few lines, we are going to do it inline to save time. Okay, with that said, let's move on further with creating our app.js. Inside of here, we are just going to add justify, which is going to be equal to center. Simply means that our grid will be centered. Inside of that grid, we are just going to have another grid. This time it is going to be a type of item, and XS is going to be equal to 11. Basically, there are 12 spaces in Material UI grid, as you can see right here. If we specify 12, it is going to take full width, 6 is going to take half, and 3 is going to take 1/4 of the full width. So let's make it 12 to use full width. And now we are going to do another grid. This may look weird, but it is completely doable, which is also going to be a type of container. So container, and we'll have a spacing of 16. In that grid, we are going to have a search bar. So we are going to type grid because we need another grid item, and that is going to be type of item with access being equal to 12. And inside of here, we are not going to type anything right now, but inside of here, we have our search bar. So we are going to type search bar. When we create a component for the search bar, it is going to go in here. Now we are going to have another grid just below this one, and it is going to be also a type of item, and its size is going to be 8. With that said, we need another grid to fill this 4 left out spaces, and it is going to be in here. Now, in here, we will have our video detail, which is also going to be a separate component. And inside of here, we are going to have our video list, which will be all the other 4 or 5 remaining videos to choose from. If you're wondering how to do comments in React, you use it with this syntax, or just simply use command / to comment or uncomment something out. That's basically it. Our whole structure is done. Now, this component is going to manage our state, is going to display our videos, is going to import all the other components. So now let's create a placeholder for importing those components. We are going to import, not default import, so we're going to import and then curly braces, search bar. Those components don't exist yet, but we are going to create them just now. Video list and video detail from that / components. We are going to create them in here. That's it. This is another huge trick. People usually import stuff like this. So I'll show you the long way and why is it not a correct way to do it. So people usually do it like this. Components, search bar. And then they do it components, video list, and also components, we had video detail. So in here we have 3 lines that are completely viable, but I'll now show you a simple quick way to make it 1 line as we saw before. So let's create those dummy components. We are going to go into components and create a new file. We are going to have a search bar.js, also video list.js, and also video detail.js. Okay, now inside of here we need to import them, and we are doing just that. So if we create a component, we are going to do search first. So if we create a simple React component, we need to have our search as a class-based component because it is going to be managing search term state. So we are going to do everything that we are used to, import React from React, and then we are going to use our class. We're going to name it search bar, and then extends React that component, capital C, and then we are going to have our render and return. For now, we are only going to return our h1, saying this is a search bar component. Okay, and now we are going to do export default search bar. Okay, this is an example of a class-based component. We need to have it as a class-based component because in here we will be managing state. So we are going to have something like state equals to, we will have a search term, which is going to be empty string at the beginning. And then we are going to use state modifiers to modify our state based on a search component that we are going to have right in here. But now, on the contrary, we have something like video detail, and video detail is simply going to be a dummy functional component. So we're going to do the same thing at the beginning. So import React from React, but inside of here, we are going to have const video detail is equal to, and it is a simple arrow function. And inside of here, we can type return and return h1. This is a video detail component. Okay, we need to spell it correctly, and we'll do export default video detail. So I've created this boilerplate for these two components just to show you how we can import them correctly. So now if we get back to our app.js and we comment this out because we imported only these two, now you can see we are importing search bar from that slash components, so that's inside of here, slash search bar. And we are here getting our full component right here. And that works completely well. So if we uncomment this out and video detail and search bar and actually do them as a component. So we're going to have a search bar and we are going to have our video detail. Since we aren't going to have anything inside of them for now, we can simply import them as a self-closing tags. So we are going to remove this and we are going to add a closing tag to them. And the same things goes for this component. So we are going to remove this and add this. Okay, now what do we expect to see? We expect to see this is our search bar and this is our video detail component. But before, let's run npm start and we will just now see that in the browser. Okay, there is one thing that I left purposely here, and you can see right here we have curly braces. And if you remember correctly, inside of here we have an export default. Export default does not need curly braces, so we're just going to remove them right here, and I hope you notice that. And now we can visit our browser at localhost 3000, and now you can see that both of our components are being imported right here. That is great. But now I'd like to show you the quicker way. So imagine if we had like 10 or 20 components right here. It would take 10 to 20 lines of just writing import statements. But what we can do is create an index.js inside of our components folder, export, and then curly braces, default as search bar. This is just the name we want it to have. And then from that slash search bar. So we are doing everything in one single file. We can copy this line and in here we can type video detail. Okay, right now we can get back to our app.js and we can simply import all of this from just one single location. So it will be in that slash components. When you have index files, you do not have to specify them like this. Index files are special because if you just want to have something from the components folder and you put it inside of the index file, you do not need to specify it like this. You can just write components. So now we are going to turn this from a default export to a non-default export, and in here we are going to get both video detail and search bar. Okay, I was just messing with one little mistake here. I misspelled search right here or right here. Now that everything is correct, we are simply getting all the components right back. So if we get back and refresh, you can see that we get both components. This is really an awesome tip and a huge practice that is being used in React, because React is really modular and this helps you do that. You can simply add or remove another component like this and simply import them all in one line. Okay, so now that that is done, we have created all project structure and we have two components. So let's start working on those components. We will start with search, and inside of here we are going to first import everything that we are going to use from our Material UI core, and that is going to be our paper, which is basically a raised div and a text field. So from and then at Material UI core. Okay. Now we are going to have a paper. So as I said, you don't need to worry about what things are. And inside of here we are going to have form. Inside of form we are going to have one text field. That text field is going to be of full width, and it is going to have a label equal to search ... And now on the paper, let's add elevation of 6, and let's add a style of padding equal to 25 pixels. So this is just a setup so it looks nice. Now we can check how that looks in the browser. As you can see, we have a nice long search bar right at the top. Now we can get back and we need to add our event handlers. So let's do just that. On submit, on the form is going to call this.handle submit. So we're going to have a special method for handling our form submit. And in here on the text field, we can also write it as a self-closing tag because we are not going to have anything inside of it. Inside of here, we can also add some methods. We can add an onChange method. This is a really important method in React. It handles input changes and changes the state based on these changes. So we are going to call this.handle change when the onChange event listener is called on this text field. So let's do just that. There is an easy way in React. Usually you have to bind all of your functions. So we're going to go to React binding, and inside of here I'll show you a way how do we need to bind our functions. So in React, when you add a method on our class, so handle click for example, and declare it as a normal function, all the functions have a scope and have their own this statement like this. And this isn't going to be referring to our class, which it should. And because of that, we need to bind this to our class. Now, there is a simple workaround around this, and it makes you not add any unnecessary code. We can simply do it like this. Handle change, and we can declare it as an arrow function. Arrow functions are special because they do not have their own this. So simply, this will refer to the class and not to the this in this function. Okay, if that's not too confusing, let's go ahead. So inside of here, we are going to set state. So set state is a really important method in React. It simply sets the state, this exact object right here, and makes React components know what's the current state of some property in the state object. So you declare it like this, you call it like a function and provide an object. In here, we specify what we want to change. So we want to change our search term, and we are going to do it like this. Handle change method accepts one value, and it is the event. So we are going to have event here, and then the value of our input is going to be hidden inside of our event that target that value. First, we are going to comment this out and simply console.log our event that target that value, so you can see exactly what we are getting back on our onChange function. So we are going to go back to the browser and back to our application, and we are going to open our console by going to inspect right here and opening our console. We are going to remove these errors right here, and let's see. So when we type something, we expect to get back our search term. So let's type YouTube video. As you can see here, as we type one letter, we get the full search term back. So now, when we know that our search term is stored right here, we can remove this and simply set our search term equal to event.target that value. That's it. This function will update our search term in the state. Since we have only one return statement right here, we can also type it like this in one line. It will do the same thing. Okay, and now we can write our handle submit function. We are also going to write it like an arrow function. And inside of here, we are going to fetch our search term from the state. So this is another huge thing in React. It's called destructuring. It was brought in ES6 to the JavaScript, and it majorly changed the way that we write JavaScript. So this line right here, if you have never heard of destructuring, basically takes in the search term from this.state. Let's say we have a lot of values. So we have value 1, value 2, value 3, and a lot of values. Every time that we want to do something with those values, if we didn't have this destructuring, we would need to do something like this.state.search term, or this.state.value, this.state.value1. As you can see, with only 3 values, this gets quite repetitive. But if we declare it like this, and we simply destructure the state to use the search term, we can simply call it like this. So we can remove all of this stuff right here, and we can only call it like this. Much cleaner and much less code repetition. We don't actually have values 1 and 2, so we are going to delete that. And we have only our search term. I hope I proved you how destructuring in React is really important. And now the question is, what are we going to do with this search term? We are going to let it move from our search bar component to our app.js component, because we need to have it right here. So inside of our app.js, we are going to create a new property on our search bar called onFormSubmit. And inside of here, we are going to have another function called handleSubmit. This is going to be a handle submit for our app.js. So this may look a bit weird for now, but just hang on. So basically, with this.props in this component, we'll be able to access our onFormSubmit, and we will immediately transfer our state, our search term, to our app.js component with this property. So let's get back to our search bar, and below this.state we can call this.props and destructure our property. So we called it onFormSubmit, and we are going to get exactly that. So we're going to get onFormSubmit, and now with this search term we are going to write onFormSubmit, and we are going to provide our search term. So there is only one more line that we are going to need. Basically, all the forms in HTML or React or any other web development framework by default refresh the page. So if you type something here like YouTube and press enter, it is going to refresh. Basically, in React, we never want to have a full page refresh. We just want to have something happening on our components. So we never want to have to refresh a React applications. So we can do that easily by typing event. Also, we need to fetch that event here like we did right here, event.prevent default. This will prevent the default behavior of a browser refresh. And if we get back and refresh, if we type YouTube and press enter, okay, that didn't go quite as planned, but we are going to finish this whole form submission right here. Maybe that has to do something with this refresh, and then we'll try to fix it. This is the main part of building applications in React. You go through them and you fix mistakes as you go. So let's go to our onFormSubmit and let's see how we can fetch this data inside of our app.js. So right now, inside of our search bar, through this props, we'll be providing data to our onFormSubmit. So if we get back to our app.js, in here we have our onFormSubmit, and we are going to write this function right here. When we write this, it may be a bit more clear what we are exactly calling right here. So this function doesn't exist yet. We are just going to create it, and then it is going to come through these props. So sorry if I went a bit faster right there. So inside of here, just above the render function, we are going to have handleSubmit. And it is also going to be an arrow function. And as we can right now see clearer, this handleSubmit or onFormSubmit in our search bar has a parameter. And the parameter is indeed a search term. So we are going to have that parameter right here, so we can use it. Also, since we are going to fetch some data from the YouTube API, this function needs to be asynchronous. If you've never heard of asynchronicity in JavaScript, I have a great tutorial with another project where we only use async await to fetch real data. Basically, it stops the execution of the code until something is fetched. So if you haven't checked that out, I will link it in the description. But now let's continue. So we'll have a response from the YouTube API. We are finally getting some things to happen. And inside of here, since we are inside of the async function, so we are going to use await. Now we are finally going to call our YouTube API. So YouTube.get. This is basically an Axios instance of a fetch. So we are going to call YouTube.get. If you remember, this YouTube is coming from that /API/YouTube. And this is our Axios.create. So our base URL plus all the parameters. And we are simply going to do it like this. Search, which is basically a continuation of base URL. So everything that we had under base URL plus or / search. And then we are going to have our parameters. So we are going to destructure them. And YouTube API uses it as Q. So basically Q is query, I guess, and it is going to be our search term. So you will use it like this, and it is not a capital S. So search term right here, I need to refactor this. Okay, now we are getting YouTube.get /search, and we are passing in one parameter we specified, which is basically a search term, and we need to put it under Q because it is query and it is default for YouTube API. Right here we can console.log our responses, or response rather, and see what do we indeed get. So now let's recapitulate. We have this handle submit function, and we are providing this handle submit on to our search bar. When we go into our search bar, we now have access to this on form submit through this.props because we have passed it. And now we can call this on form submit and provide our search term that we are getting from the state. I hope everything is a bit clearer right now. So right now, if we get back and refresh and open our console, before we check what we get back from the YouTube API, let's solve these warnings right here because that doesn't look good. Basically, it says that Material UI doesn't want a spacing of 16. So we're going to go back and change this from 16 to 10 right here and see what we get. Okay, now that warning is gone, and we need to check our manifest. Since we deleted our manifest, we probably have it's still specified right here, and we can also remove that, so we get rid of the warning. And now there are no warnings, and we are ready to do a search term. We are going to type YouTube and press enter. Okay, we are back in here. After I spent a long time debugging this problem with this YouTube API, I figured that the problem was in Axios. So it looks like the time when I was building this project myself, the Axios version changed, and they changed something regarding the parameters. Now these parameters are not correctly passing toward our Axios.get or YouTube.get as we created it right here. So we need to use them explicitly in our call. So we are going to copy these parameters right here, and we are going to go back to our app.js, and now we are going to paste them right here. So we are going to create YouTube.get, and then we are going to have search. So that is going to be v3 and /search, and all the parameters are going to be specified in the object as a second parameter to our YouTube.get. I spent quite some time now trying to fix this issue with Axios, but it looks like we just need to pass our parameters right here. I'm going to use my real API key right here, but it is going to be closed after this video, so it doesn't matter. Use your own. And now if we have this working right here, that should be finally working. We also need to specify our Q as a query, and that is our search term, which is coming from our search term component. So now we are finally set up. Well, it's not finally for you, it was immediately for you. I just spent like 10 or 20 minutes debugging this problem, but that happens often in development. So let's finally get back to our component. As you can see here, I was checking our requests, but now if we go into the console, and we type YouTube, we finally get back our data. In here, under the data, and then under items, we have all of our 5 videos. So let's narrow down our search. We are just going to console.log response.data, props.items. And if we go back, refresh, type something else again, so YouTube, press enter, now we get a clear array with 5 objects. Every object has an e tag, an ID, and everything is inside of this snippet. So every object has a snippet of channel ID, channel title, description, live broadcast content, publish that, and we also have thumbnails. So that is really great. Now we have all the data necessary to create our YouTube iframe and YouTube thumbnails. So if we go back, now we can set the state with this data. So we will have 2 state properties in this app main component. So we are going to have state is equal to an object, and first will be videos. So at the beginning, videos will be an empty array, and we also have selected video, which we are going to use later, and that is first going to be set to null. So now we need to set state. We'll use this.set state, and we are going to set the state of videos to response.data.items, as we saw right now. And we are going to set the selected video to response.data.items, and we are going to pick the first video of the whole search. So that's basically it for this handle submit. Now we have this data and we can manage it. So inside of the video detail, we can now pass these videos or these search terms and actually display them. So let's do just that. Right now we can provide our component called video detail a property called video, and that is going to be our selected video. So we are simply going to pass this.state.selected video. But as we learned before, destructuring helps us quite a lot. So we can use const and then curly braces selected video equals this.state, and now we can remove this.state from here. Now, as we learned, if we go inside of the video detail, we will have property called video, and it will have all the data for this video. We can go inside of the video detail and we can start creating it. So as before, we are going to import all the necessary stuff from our material UI. It is going to be paper and typography, and we are going to import it from @material UI core. And we can start creating it. So as we learned, in class-based components, you can access the properties or props by going into the this.props. So class-based component have the onForm submit, as we passed it right here. They have access to it under this.props.name, so it is onForm submit. And in the functional based components, we have them under props. So we have one object, which is props, and then we can call it and do something like props.video as we passed it. But using the destructuring, we can simply destructure these props and take out all the necessary properties. So we can simply do it like this, and now we have access to our video. So what are we going to return in here? We are going to return react.fragment, which is basically an empty div, because we need to have elements contained in one div. We cannot have ejected elements being returned. And first we are going to have a paper, and just below that we are going to have another paper. Both are going to have an elevation of 6. And first one is going to have styling of height, which is going to be equal to 70%. Okay, and the second one is going to have some padding, so we are going to do style equal to padding, and it will be equal to 15 pixels. Just like that. Now we can get back to adding our content. So in here we have an iframe. iframe will display the video for us. So inside, let's add some necessary properties. We are going to put frame border to 0 because we don't want to have an ugly looking border. We are going to set a height of 100%, and also we are going to set width to 100%. We are going to also give it a title, which is going to be video player. And now the most important thing, we are going to give it a src. So basically src is the URL of our video. So what are we going to put in here? We need to fetch that src from our video. So how are we going to do that? First, let's add our check. So if there is no video, we don't want to return nothing. We just want to return an empty div. So we're just going to return div, and it is going to say loading. So if you don't have video at the beginning, it's okay. It will just say loading. But if we do have video, we are going to fetch something from it. So we are going to create a new constant called video src, and we have a special URL that we are going to use with the data coming from our video. So we are going to type template literals, so backticks. If you have UK keyboard, it's the key left to the 1 key. And we are going to type https and then / www.youtube.com /embed / and now inside of here we are going to type $ curly braces because we are going to use dynamic data. So we are going to use video.id.video ID. Basically, this is how we are going to fetch things right here. If we now do a console.log right here of our video.id.video ID, you'll see that that is the actual data coming from our video. So let's get back, refresh, and type something like test. When we press enter, you'll see that in here we get at that ID. So if we do like this, and if we copy the whole string and then paste the ID after the string, we can copy the whole URL and paste it, let's say right here, to see if we do get the video. So you see that we do indeed get the src for this specific video. We can now get back knowing that we successfully fetched the video src. So this is all dynamic data, and now we are going to put it inside of here. So we are going to do src curly braces, and then we are going to put not this specific static URL, but we are going to put video src that we just created above. Now let's fetch some additional data from our video. So if we just console.log our video and get back and type something like test, you can see that we get all kinds of stuff right here. So we get kind, snippet, ID, and stuff like that. So let's see what we are going to need. Some necessary data and some human readable data. We are going to type typography. Typography is basically a paragraph or heading or any text. So this is just a material UI property. We are going to have 3 typographies. First one is going to be a variant of H4. Second one is going to have a variant of subtitle. So we're going to type subtitle 1. And the third one is going to have a variant of subtitle 2. And inside of here, we are going to fetch the title. So we are going to go inside of here and we are going to type video.snippet.title. And if we get back and if we check our console, where is it? If it looks like it's refreshed, but if we type again, and if we check our console and if we go under snippet, here we have title, channel title, and stuff like that. So we are going to fetch video.snippet.title, and also we are going to do video.snippet.channel title. So we know who created that video. And that should be it. Below, we are going to fetch video.snippet.channel title, the same as above, so we know who created it. And just below, this should be H4, this should be subtitle 1, and the third one should be subtitle 2. And in here, we are going to use video that snippet, that description. So now let's check everything that we have to see what it is going to look like. So for now we have just loading, which is great. And now we can type something like test, and we get our full card with this video snippet preview. This is our title with a channel title. In here we also have channel title, and in here we have the description. That is great. So we can get back, and that should be it for our video detail component. So that's it. Now we need to create video list. So video list is going to have video items in them. So if we go under video list, first we need to create one separate video item. So we are going to create a new file, and it is going to be called video item. It is just going to be a small preview of this whole video, just without the iframe of the whole video. So we are going to go under video item, and inside of here we are going to do all the usual stuff. Import React from React, and inside of here we are going to import grid, paper, and typography from material UI core. Okay, and we are going to have another function-based components called video item, which is going to be simple arrow function, and it is going to have a return. And inside of here, let's just say video item. And let's export it. So export default video item. Okay, that's it. The reason why we don't have it listed here, because the video list is going to have the video items, and then we are just going to export the video list. So now let's create some boilerplate for the video list. So import React from React, import grid from @material UI, and then in here we are going to have another function-based components, and inside of here we are going to have another function-based component. This is a great time to explain why do we have so many function-based components and only a few class-based components. So basically, this is a dummy component. This is also a dummy component. It doesn't have any state. This also is dummy-based component. Basically, we have some data coming in and we are doing something with it. We are displaying it. But this component, for example, is class-based. It has state and it has some methods. So it is much smarter. It needs to handle state. Also, this handles quite a lot of logic right here. So it needs to be class-based. But not all components need to be smart. Some of them only need to return or display some data. So we are going to have return statement right here, and we are going to export it. This we can type right here, h1 video list, just like that. And now we need to export it as the other two in the components index.js. So we are going to type video list from video list, and now we can use it inside of our app.js right here, video list, and we can uncomment this out and do that as a component. So video list right here. So if I went a bit too fast, let's see what I did. We created a dummy component called video list. Inside of our index.js in components, we exported it, and inside of the app.js, we imported it, and we are going to show it right here. So if we go back, you can see that we have video list, but you may be wondering, where is the video item? Where are we going to use that? So basically, inside of the video list, we are just going to map through an array of video items. So we are going to do it like this. Above, we are going to create a constant called list of videos. And it is going to be equal to videos that map. And we are going to have an arrow function, and we are going to do something in here. But for now, we do not have this prop called videos. So we are going to get it from the props. And if you remember, this is props, and we can get it by typing props.videos, but even simpler way is to just simply destructure it. So props right here, and we are not getting it right now, but if we go under app.js, we need to simply pass a prop called videos, which will be equal to videos. And these videos are coming from the state right here. Oh, this is a typo. It should be videos right here. And we can simply pass them right here, but we need to destructure the videos from the state right here. So now we are getting the property videos. We can get back into the video list, and now we can type for each video, we need to return a component which is actually a video item. So we are going to import our video item from /video item. Okay, that's great. And we can simply return our video item for each of the videos we have here. We need to destructure videos here, not props. So we are going to do just that. Now that this is done, we can refresh, and instead of our video list, we are going to return list of videos. So return list of videos. And now if we go back to our browser and we type something, you can see that we indeed do have 5 video items. That's great. So there is a slight warning here when you're mapping over properties right here, as we are in this video list. We need to also provide some ID, and we are going to have it right here. And the key of each video item is going to be a simple ID. So key is equal to ID, and that ID is coming from the video. So we know that each video has an ID property. Okay, so then we can also provide it a video, so all the info of the video. As we said, we are getting the data from 5 videos, and each of this is an object with all different properties. So to each video item, we are going to provide its own video details. So it is going to be video. Now we can get back to our video item, and inside of here, we can do something with it. As we explained before, we can destructure the data we just brought in, and we can use it to display something. Okay, now we need to display this video properly. First, we are going to have a grid, which is going to be an item, because container will be in the video list. So we are simply going to have an item, and it will take the full width of the container by typing XS12. Inside of it, we are going to have a paper. So it is going to be paper, and we are going to provide it with some styling. So style will be equal to display flex. It will have align items to center, and that's basically it for this paper. Inside of here, we will have an image, and in here we will be working with the thumbnail data that videos provide us. So it is going to be a self-closing tag, and inside of here we are just going to give it a style of margin right, which is going to be 20 pixels. And now we need to provide it with an alt tag, which is just going to be thumbnail. And we need to provide it with an SRC. So SRC of this image is the data that we are fetching from the video, and it is going to be video, that snippet, that thumbnails, that medium, that URL. Basically, if you want to take a look at the data we are getting once again, you can go in here and type test, press enter. We get some errors now, but inside of here you can inspect the data and see that indeed we are getting a snippet and thumbnails and medium and URL. So in here we are getting the URL for that specific image, and just below the image we are going to have a typography, which is going to have a variant of subtitle 1. And inside of here we are going to have bold element, so bold, and it will have video, that snippet, that title. And now let's see what do we get back. There is an error right here. expected corresponding closing tag for B, but it indeed is here. So what seems to be the problem? That's it. The error was just slow. And if we get back, refresh, type something like YouTube, press enter, we get some errors, and that is because cannot read thumbnails of undefined. That means that we misspelled right here, which is okay. If we get back and refresh, type YouTube again. Right now you can see that we indeed do get some cards right here. It looks great. We get some thumbnails right here, and we get the main displayed right here. There is also some styling that we need to do more. So if we go back under the video list right here, we are going to add some additional styling. So instead of just returning list of videos, we are going to return them in a grid container. So we are going to do it like this, return, and we are simply going to type grid, place this inside with curly braces, and to that grid we are going to provide type of container and spacing equal to 10, as we said before. Let's see how it looks right now. Let's type something related to JavaScript. And inside of here, now you can see that we get nice looking data coming from the API with an iframe and also this little cards like here. Now, if we click them, nothing happens, but we need to add logic for that. So let's do just that. It is going to be as simple as providing another property to our video item, which is going to be called onVideoSelect. And we are simply going to provide it onVideoSelect. So this doesn't exist yet. We are not going to do it in this component, but we are simply going to fetch it as we did videos right here. So onVideoSelect is going to be something that we are going to specify in the app.js. So inside of here, you can see that we are providing it with videos, but we will also be providing it with onVideoSelect, which is going to be equal to this.onVideoSelect, which doesn't exist yet, but we are going to create it just now. So if we get back and if we create another method, which is going to be called onVideoSelect, just a simple arrow function. And the important thing to notice here is that we could have created the onVideoSelect right into the video list, but it wouldn't work because we need that data that is coming from the state right here. So inside of here, we already have selected video, so we can simply pass it as a state. So in this property, we are going to have a video as we specified right before, and it is going to just set state. So this.set state of a selected video. We need to put in an object. So selected video will be equal to video. Okay, that's it. So let's inspect it. OnVideoSelect is being transferred to our video list. Inside of here, we are passing it. And if we go into the video list, we are passing it once again inside of our video list. And now we have access to it right here in the video item. We can also get onVideoList from onVideoSelect, from the app. So it traversed two different components all the way from app.js to the video list to the video item. And in here we are getting that state. And in here we can specify an on-click on the paper component. So we can type on-click right here. And it is going to be equal to an arrow function. And when user clicks on that, we are going to call that onVideoSelect, and we are going to provide it with a correct video. Simple as that. And in here, we can also provide some additional styling so it looks clickable. We are going to give a style of cursor, and that will be equal to pointer. So user knows that we can point to that. If we go back and if we type something like JavaScript, click enter. Now we have this nicely spaced little tabs. When you hover over this element, you indeed get a cursor. And now when you click on it, the SRC and all the data is being transferred to our main video detail. Now we can choose between these items and see all the items right here. So we can type right here and the video will indeed display. So let's see some of the videos. Let's, for example, search for async await. I told you that I did a project on it. So if you don't know async, I think we'll find it like this, async await real project. And as you can see, my video is coming in first. In here, you can learn everything about async await. That's basically it. Now, let's see if there is something else that we can do with our application, or is it completely done. We are going to repeat everything we did. We are going to explain a bit more in detail what we did right here. So if you didn't understand everything right from the beginning, we are just going to go through it one more time. The one last thing we can do just to make this a bit better is to create a lifecycle method inside of our app.js. So at the top, just after this state, we can specify component did mount. This basically means that everything inside of this function will be run immediately after the class component loads. So inside here, we can just call this.handle submit, and we can pass it a search term. So let's just comment this out and see how the app looks like now. So now we just have an empty looking page at the beginning, but we can make it better with one simple line. So inside of here, we can simply specify the search term that will show every time the page loads. So let's see, there's another video I did before. It is PDF generation with React and Node. And if we type back, and now you can see here that immediately when we refresh, when we come on the page, we immediately get some data, so it doesn't look ugly from the beginning. But of course, we can also search anything and it will change immediately. Okay, now let's get back to repeating everything that we learned in this video about React and about building this application. And let's close all of this. So now let's take a deep breath and congratulate you on coming to the end of this video. Let's repeat everything that you learned in this video. First, we created a new React app by running create React app, and that generated this boilerplate code for us. Inside of the package.json, we installed the necessary dependencies, which are Axios and Material UI in this case. We also deleted all the unnecessary code. We created our index.js, which is rendering our whole application in the root of our directory, which is just a simple HTML page with a div that has an ID of root. And then inside of the src is where the magic happens. We have one main component, which is called app.js. It does all the stuff. But to make it look a bit better, we simply imported all of these blocks of code. So if we just didn't do this search bar as a separate component right here, or a video detail, we would have much less clutter, and we would have like 10, 20, 30 methods right here and a lot of code right here. Basically every of these items like search bar would have like 10 to 20 lines, and we would need to put it right here. But this way, using React, we can simply create it as a separate component and import it like here. So we learned how to do this imports by using index.js. We also learned how to actually call these components right here. Another great thing we learned is how to pass props to our components. That is maybe the biggest thing that you learned in this video, because we had a lot of passing properties right here. If we go into the search bar is getting this onFormSubmit function from the app.js inside of the search bar props. So we're getting it right here, but maybe the best example of props passing is this onVideoSelect. We are creating it right here, onVideoSelect. Then we are passing it to our video list right here. And then we are passing it one level deeper into the video item right here, where we are finally using it. So we learned a lot about passing props. Another thing we learned is a bit of Material UI. As I said, we can do another video on it specifically. We also learned a lot about setting state. So if you want to change state right here, where we have initial state, which is just an empty array of videos and a selected video of null, when you want to change that state in React, you need to call this.setState and then update all the details. Another great thing we learned is about using Axios. So we created a whole new Axios instance right here with a base URL, and then we called it inside of the app.js right here, where we passed it all the parameters and we used async await to wait for the details. Then we put these details of the videos in the videos, and then we pass them again all the way to the video list, where the video list is actually mapping through them and using every specific video to create a new video item right here. And the last thing is the video detail, in which we are using the data coming from the API to actually display the video. That's really it. This was quite a comprehensive video. If you come all the way to the end, thank you. Feel free to watch the GitHub video I did before and then upload this project to your GitHub portfolio, because this is quite a nice project to have if you're looking for applying to jobs regarding React or Node or something like that. This could come quite handy if you're looking for projects to put in on your portfolio. If you feel that this video helped you make a new project or learn React a bit better, feel free to let me know that in the comments. I would greatly appreciate you. Also, feel free to like and subscribe to JavaScript Mastery, because a lot of new stuff is coming on the channel. Thank you again and stay tuned.